Hello everyone, this is Plankera, and welcome to my universe. Today, I'm going to continue rigging Shalom from Pathstone to Nowhere, who is greeting you without a proper head. Because I've been working on the tips of the bangs, and it is just so much easier to see what I'm doing when I have a dark background behind the bangs. Anyway, I was working on kind of the left part right over here. I think most of it looks pretty good. There's just a few areas that I want to touch up. As is pretty common. There's a lot going on in the tips of these bangs here, so this is pretty natural, I think. Anyway, the first thing that I noticed was that I was a little bit unsatisfied with the overall angle of the very tip of this bang in the lower left corner. We'll see if that propagates to the other left turns there, but for now, I will start here. Yeah, you can see, I guess if you look closely from here to here, that there's just, I don't know, something's not moving quite right. So I just gotta get in there and make it move right. In this case, left. Because English is a mess. A mess where right is in the direction, and right is incorrect is the same word. So I'll just get that on over there. Yeah, I think that's already looking a little bit better. So I think today is going to be a day of having Shalom slowly move her head back and forth, repeatedly, for a long time. I think that's just going to be how things are until I finally finish these head turns. Oh, won't that be a wonderful day? I still don't think I'm going to know what to do with myself. I've been doing head turns for so long. It's just gonna feel so strange once it's finally over. This is one of those kind of interesting relationships I have with art. This was true when I was learning how to draw as well, in that when I don't know what I'm doing, let me back up. When I don't know what I'm doing, but I have a vision for what I want in my head, I'm very much willing to grind toward that vision. Grind hard, even. Which meant when I was learning how to draw, it would take me months to finish a single picture. Unironically, it would take me a really, really long time. So I had this image in my head, and I was not going to stop until I achieved it. And I remember for a while, I was just kind of resigned to the fact that I was slow at drawing. But when I went back and looked at some of my old pictures, I realized that part of the reason that I was still so slow at drawing was because as my skills grew, so did my ambition. So I started drawing more complex scenes and actual things like backgrounds and full bodies instead of just portraits and stuff like that. And so I think that might be what's happening here as well, because I remember the first few things that I did to kind of test the software. I only did a head and like the very, very top of the shoulders, and I did a little bit of experimenting with physics and stuff, but it wasn't anything super interesting. And then I rigged my model, and I started to really realize what I could do, because for those first couple, I didn't really have anything in particular in mind. I just wanted to do something kind of fun and interesting. See what I could do with it. But for my personal model here, oh no. I wanted it to be just right. I wanted it to be mine, because it was going to be me on the internet. And I didn't want to look bad. That would just be sad. So I wanted to make sure that I had a really good model, so I spent a long time looking at other models and seeing what could be done. Granted, what I was looking at was live 2D models, but Inochi2D is still pretty small, and when I was just getting started, it was even smaller. So I couldn't look at a lot of Inochi models. There just weren't very many out there. They didn't really exist yet. But I had a bunch of ideas, and I was willing to go at it, and so I spent quite a long time putting this model together. I did it in a shorter span of time, but I think it was probably more overall hours, just because I was working on it for way more than an hour a day. Like, I'd be poking on it on and off pretty much all day, every day. If my kids gave me 5 minutes to sit down, I was working on my model. That's just how it was. It was a good way to be. It made me happy. But I think when it comes to rigging, I'm still in that awkward state of being somewhat new to everything, but I have ideas and I want to make them happen. I have an idea in my mind of what things should look like, even if they do not currently. So I just want to keep going until they get there. When it came to a lot of visual arts, like drawing and whatnot, I've heard that there are 2 types of people. And I'm sure that this applies to other creative pursuits as well, but I'm just most familiar with it with drawing. And that's the people that have trouble getting started and the people that have trouble finishing things. I am the type that has trouble getting started. I've never had any trouble finishing what I start. But man, starting a new thing is always super stressful. Stare into the abyss that is the blank canvas. And so I'll ponder it for a long time, and then eventually it just kind of comes, but this ability of mine to just kind of grind things out is what I think makes it easier for me to finish things than to start things. Because I know once I'm in, I am in. I am not going to want to stop. So I try fairly early on to make sure that I will at least like what I'm doing. A long time ago, somebody asked me how I could keep doing this when I had 0 viewers for so long, and it's like, I don't know. Honestly, it's not that bad. I just kind of told myself that I was going to do it for a period of time, and hoped that at some point, maybe I wouldn't have 0 viewers anymore. And that's still about how I feel about it. Gave myself a time frame, so that this way, if I got a little bit sad about nobody being here, that I would be able to persevere for a while longer. You know, grind it out. Because I have heard that is very much necessary if you want to do this long enough to actually attract viewers. Now, if only I could actually get better at marketing. Marketing is so scary, though. Oh, here, there's a whole ton of just little lines on the edge of the bang on this side. And I didn't quite like how they were moving around on this left turn here. Some of them were sliding up strangely, some of them were not thick enough in certain places. And what I'm looking at right now is the top of this highlight and the distance between the highlight over here. It's not quite matching up, and it's making the angle of this highlight change strangely. So I kind of want to fix that too. Lots and lots of little things. They are tiny, tiny things. Remember how I said that recently it's been getting warm enough that I've been able to go for walks again? Well, it snowed yesterday. That happens a lot where I live. So, probably won't be going walking today. But the snow is very pretty. Honestly, even though I'm not a huge fan of the cold, I do like snow. I really do. It's very, very pretty, especially when it's just quiet and undisturbed. No footprints, no tire tracks, nothing. Just flat in the ground, all nice and sparkly. It's really nice too because there's this street lamp outside of my door that I can see very easily from this big bay window at the front of my house. And before the sun comes up, when that street light is still on, it just makes the snow glitter. And it's really pretty. I like it a lot. Just watching it sparkle. Or if it happens to be snowing while it's still dark, watching the snow filter through the light there. And just gently float to the ground while it's all nice and glittery. I like it lots. It's so nice. Sometimes I like to just go stand in that window and just watch it all. Watch the snow for a few minutes. Unfortunately, it does mean that probably won't be able to go walking for a few days. It's probably going to be a bit too cold. The weather here tends to be a little bit random. Because, like, I think our heaviest snow month is actually, like, April. Even though that's long past when winter is supposed to be done. But just due to, it can get pretty cold at night in particular, so sometimes out in April, we'll just get snow and it'll be just gone within the same day. Because things warm up a lot once the sun comes out. So even on those days, I could probably go walking, but not sure about today. We'll see if I want to. I've been feeling a little bit better about drawing in the mornings. Remember how I said that the blank canvas is terrifying? Well, I no longer have a blank canvas. I have enough going now that drawing is a little bit less intimidating, so I've been feeling a little bit better about it. now I'm working on a drawing of myself. I'm hoping to make myself some new headers and fancy graphics and stuff. I just did some quick model shots to get myself started because I found myself noticing that I was using making all these assets and whatnot as an excuse to procrastinate actually getting started with streaming. So I just took some quick screenshots of my model and called that good and said, no brain, you're not allowed to stall. So I just went ahead and got started, and now I feel like I have some time to go ahead and replace it with stuff that I actually drew. Stuff that I put a little bit more time and care into. Maybe soon I'll even write a proper description. Been meaning to do that for a while. And I've been working on a lot of little things. It's very exciting. And speaking of exciting, I feel like I have a very good chunk of what I wanted to fix in this front bang, all nice and fixed. This is also where I noticed that there's actually a little light spot on the edge here that is moving around a little bit more than I initially thought it was, so I never really noticed it there. That's okay, it looks like it's right on most of them. I just want to pull it down a little bit right over here. We'll space these guys out a little bit more evenly and call it good. Alright, well that took me a little bit longer to finish than I thought it would, but there was just a lot of little fiddly details out the corner there. Anyway, let's go grab the other spot that I thought was a little bit off. Let me remind myself why I thought it was off. So it was in the upper right. Ah, yes, there it is. Still kinda feel like some stuff here is being stretched, but this I don't think will take us long, with any luck. I've been continuing to read a lot of comics lately. I finally caught up on Kubera, which I'm happy about. I have been enjoying it. It just moves a little bit slowly, so I'll probably check back in on it in a while. That tends to be how I read unfinished comics or manga. I just read until I catch up, and then I check back in a year. Maybe a little bit sooner, depending on how exciting it is. And so I started reading Purple Hyacinth. I saw it recommended quite a lot for interesting art, in particular. And I gotta say, yeah. Definitely. There are some areas of it that are just really emotionally evocative. They did such a good job with some of those panels, man. Unfortunately, the ones that are in my mind are kind of spoilery, so I don't want to talk about them too much, but like I said, very much emotionally evocative. They did a great job really making you feel how oppressive those emotions can be. Like, huh. It's very well done. I finished Season 1 yesterday. So I'll be going on to Season 2, and I'll keep going until I catch up. And then I'll have another comic on my list of things to catch up on, you know, when I feel like it. At some point, I'd really like to find some that are just outright finished. But with how relatively new the webtoon format is, it's a bit harder to find ones that are finished. I did try reading The God of High School, because I knew that it was finished, but it focused a little bit too hard on just the play-by-play fight scenes, as opposed to, like, the overall story for my taste. And, like, don't get me wrong, they're the art and the fight scenes, fantastic. And the way that the illustrator was able to convey what was happening, did a great job. It looked fantastic. But the story just didn't quite hold my attention. And I've never been a huge fan of just super detailed fight scenes with not a lot else going on. Just not my taste. So I might look for some other ones that are finished. Just see what's out there. Alright, now this side I saw some things that I wanted to fix. Oh yes, and I wanted to make sure that... Okay. I wanted to see if I needed to pull the rest of her bangs a little bit further to the left, and it looks like I do, because look at the difference here. Just there, and then, yeah. It scooches back in and looks a bit weird. So let's pull that out. Just gonna pull this entire thing just a little bit further to the left, and then floof it out just a little bit more right through here. Alright, I think that's the right amount of movement that it needs. Now I just need to clean it up and readjust the parts that are kind of inside. Because this inside dark area right here on this light spot got pulled a bit too far, and then there's all kinds of shenanigans over here, and well, that's just how it is. When you move things around that much, things are bound to not always cooperate. Or move in ways that you did not intend because you used the brush. And the brush moves very indiscriminately. before I line this up with the lower left, I want to line it up with the left. Because this one should be taken as absolute truth. If anything is wrong based on what I see from that center point, then everything around it just needs to be fixed, because this one is always right. Always. That is how it looked before I started deforming things. So, it has no... I was gonna say mental contamination, but considering this is a Path to Nowhere character, that has connotations. But yes, it has no contamination from my mind. Alright, there we go. I think I got a lot of that lined up with this now. With the center. I still got a few things to tweak, but it's pretty much there. So then, after that, I can finally start lining it up with the lower left again. We'll just go around in another circle, do my touch-ups, which ended up taking a while just because the touch-ups in the lower left were very precise and there were a lot of them. There were a surprising number, just because dealing with the compression of all of these little lines on the side of the bangs there is actually kind of tricky. And by compression, I mean because her head is turning to the left, I want to make it look like the lines here are all a little bit closer together in order to give the illusion of perspective, like these bangs are receding a little bit further into the background. So I'm just altering the distance between 2 points, one of the things that I said that I look at very closely when I'm rigging yesterday. Part of me is kind of tempted to hide her eyes here too, just so I can really, really see the edge of her bangs well. But at the same time, I kind of want the eyes there, so this way I know, or rather I have a good anchor for how far they're moving. Because right now I don't have her chin. And getting rid of everything that the hair is moving relative to might actually make it hard to tell how far it's moving, and if I'm moving things the right distance. So that's why I'm kind of hesitant to get rid of her eyes, even though it might help me see things a little bit more clearly. Because I admit the pupil starts peeking out from behind the side bank here, and I get surprised. Every time I think that something is going wrong, and I'm just like, oh, no, nothing's wrong, it's just her pupil. All is well. Alright. Yeah, I think that's doing much better than it was. Let's see, there's still a couple of things sliding. Let me just do some intense staring here. Make sure I have everything where I want it. Yeah, there's still a little bit of sliding. Okay, I should deal with that. Just a little bit around this highlight here. But for the most part, I think everything is fine. Oh, one moment, please. I hear my daughter being sad. Let me go check on her. Alright, I'm back. Alas, it's like I stream in the wee hours of the morning, so that this way the tiny ones are normally asleep. But it looks like today one of them woke up and was a little bit sad about it. So she just needed some water and a quick hug. Now I have to remember what I was doing. Something about a highlight being a little bit too low. Okay, I remember now. Just had to turn her head a little bit and remind myself of what I was doing. But it's okay, I think all is well. Alright, just a little bit more. I feel like this shadow here needs to be a little bit closer to this one. So I'll push them a little bit closer together. Just a little bit there, and hopefully that should do it. I'll probably say that every single time I make a change. But I always hope when I make a change that should do it. Yes, I think so. I think that actually is looking quite good. Alright, let's check things through here. I really liked how this particular shadow that I'm touching right now looked on the left turn, so I figured that I should adjust it here. Just kind of push all of these little shadows a little bit closer together. Just because of how the head is turning here. So with all these lines a little bit closer together, it'll look like it's receding into the background a little bit more. But I gotta get them real close together for it. Fortunately, I meshed it well for this. I have lots of control, but oh man, there's a ton of vertices and it makes it a little bit unwieldy. I think there's a happy balance here somewhere. I just gotta find it. You know, with the next model I make and the next mesh that I make. That's something I'll be doing for this model. Alright. Almost there. Almost there. Gotta admit, sad tiny one kinda threw me off a little. I was getting into a bit of a groove and oh, but she was so sad. Honestly, it's one of those things of becoming a parent, put a lot of things about my own childhood in perspective. Yes, man. Just seeing them sad, even knowing that you did your best and you're doing your best, it's still really hard. Even knowing that what you did helped even, it's still kind of rough. And my tiny ones have been a little bit sick the past couple of days, so that's pretty rough too. It definitely puts me a little bit off balance. Occupies my mind a bit more than I ever thought it would. But it's okay. just one of those things that just shows that I care about this, you know, whatever it is that I'm thinking about here. In this case, this person. Because I would not be occupying my thoughts if I did not care in some way. I would just forget. I always like to remind myself of that anytime I feel a little bit sad about something. Of just the only reason that I can feel this way is because I care. So my two options are either stop caring, which is appropriate for some things. It's a good strategy for people that you don't really want to associate with anymore. Or if you're feeling sad that you can't really afford a new shiny video game right now, that seems like an appropriate thing to stop caring about to the best of your ability. But on the other end of the spectrum, it's... You want to keep caring. It feels good to care about things. And as a result, you just kind of have to deal with those negative feelings that come up sometimes. And they're okay. They're just telling you that you're putting your energy into the right place. Sometimes it can be hard to tell the difference between things that you do care about but maybe shouldn't, versus things that you do care about and should continue to care about. It's your brain giving you useful information. But it is at least a start. The objective information that your brain is giving you when you are feeling sad about something you care about is that you care. And what you do with it from there, well, that's up to you. And it really is completely up to you. Never forget that. Even though feelings can feel oppressive sometimes, and even though thoughts can feel oppressive sometimes, in the end they are just thoughts and feelings. They only exist within your head. They are very much real, but they're not always correct. And they are not something that you have to act on. They will certainly be encouraging you to act. Definitely. If you acted on every feeling, you'd be incredibly impulsive. And it probably wouldn't go well for you. Because in the end, feelings aren't truths. And thoughts aren't very objective. They're just little bits of data floating around in your head. And you can use that data however you want. Just look at how well people are able to manipulate statistics. Even though in the end, statistics are just information too. So I think that is all worth keeping in mind as you make decisions going forward. I don't think people's feelings should be ignored, but they should not be treated like absolute truth either. Fortunately, rambling about all that made me calm down a little bit. I told you, it's very distressing seeing a tiny one sad like that, especially when it's your tiny one. But I did what I could, and hopefully she'll be able to get back to sleep and feel better in the morning. Alright, I think things are looking pretty good here. Oh. Okay, I need to adjust this strand here. But, yes, I do think things are looking pretty good overall. So now I can start to move on to the next part of the bangs, the center clump. Right through here. And hopefully I'll be able to get through a lot of that today. But first I want to fix the curl on this loose strand sitting over her bangs. Fortunately, it looks like it's not that far off. Shouldn't be too bad at all. Oh, it's kind of funny because I need to click on a blank spot over here in order to click off my layer. But sometimes I accidentally hide a layer instead. And it always takes me by surprise. I feel like it shouldn't, but like I said just a few minutes ago, feelings are not always correct, and they are not objective fact. And it's just worth keeping that in mind anytime you do something, because I look at this and I'm just... And I will occasionally click off wrong and accidentally hide a layer instead of deselecting things. Like, that's just gonna happen. It's fine. Even if I feel like I shouldn't. It will. There, I wanted to do some very intense staring at the top there, but I think it's good. Hello there, Leon. How are you doing today? Right now, I'm just going in and making a bunch of very fine adjustments to many, many things. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Maybe slightly agitated still because my daughter got out of bed and was very distressed about something, but I think she's okay now. Alright. Yeah, I mean, she's 5. It happens sometimes. Alright. So now I think I can finally move on to the next clump. Which, let's see here. Gotta be this guy over here. And I'm gonna start touching up everything around this area. There are definitely some places that were having some issues with that. I don't want to look at it too zoomed in, because otherwise I'm going to see every little bit of sliding, and even the parts that don't really matter. And I don't want to spend a bunch of time fixing parts that don't really matter that much. Oh, thank you. I've been going at it for a while. But it's getting there. I think I'm not sure if I can say I'm firmly in touching up mode, but that's kind of how I'm treating it. I still have a lot of stuff I need to fix in the upper right, but I have made the executive decision to just do all angles at once at this point. I think I can afford to, because I think they're all good enough that I'm just going in and getting those last few details down. How's your model coming? Because I remember you were working on one. Yep. How it goes. Alright, well, good luck on your rigging too. Alright. Good luck. So let's see. I think the important parts for this area that I'm working on now is going to be this highlight, which kind of denotes its outer edge, and this highlight, which does the other edge. So those are the two areas that I'm looking most closely at, making sure that those two highlights that kind of outline its entire structure all look very, very good. So I think that will really tell me when everything is in the right place. Well, I suppose that's both a good thing and a bad thing. On the one hand, it means less time to rig, but on the other hand, at least there's a lot of people that like your art. Congratulations. Yeah. Understandable. It's always kind of nice drawing for yourself, because then you can just kind of follow your whimsy and put whatever you're thinking down there without worrying about what your client will think of it. Because you are your client, and you know what you think of it. Just being able to do all the nice things and the things that make you happy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's totally understandable. Well, I hope you're able to find time to work on what you want to work on soon. And just make all the things that you want to make. It's always tough when other aspects of your life get in the way of that creativity. Oh man, blobbed that out way too far. The brush is dangerous. Always moving things so strongly. I never think I'm moving things as far as I actually am when I use it. Gotta be careful. Yeah, that sounds pretty rough. It's always unfortunate because I feel like the people that say surprise me have an image in their head, they just don't know what it is yet. And when you don't just magically read their mind and find out what that image is, they're annoyed. That sounds like it'd be very tough to deal with. Yep. That kind of thing is pretty terrible. Alright, I feel like I got this edge looking okay across the left and right, so now I'm gonna go do the other one. The one on the other side. Then I'll worry about the tips and all the stuff in the middle, but I like kinda figuring out where those outer edges go before I do too much more. Actually, I feel like this side isn't too bad off. On both the left and the right, I feel like it's working pretty well overall. I did do a whole bunch of work on the tips at the beginning of every turn, so nice to see that it all kind of worked out, and most things are still in pretty good places. Thank you. A lot of this is just minor touch-ups at this point. It's one of those things where I swear if I stare hard enough I can probably find problems forever, but at some point I know that I have to stop, but there's still a few areas that I think I can just do just a little bit better than what's currently there. This little claw tip always gives me a hard time, though. Let's see here. When I was going back and forth, I noticed that the overall shape of that little bang there was just a little bit off. So hoping to fix that up, but fortunately the way these vertices are connected makes it a bit tricky to move certain areas. And the mesh is so fine here that it's a little bit hard to work with. I remember in one model that I made, I didn't think that I made the mesh fine enough, so I really pushed it hard for this one. And I think I overdid it a little bit. Too many vertices, they're a little bit unwieldy. Very much something to keep in mind for future rigs. Whatever I decide to make next, there is a balance to be struck between the number of vertices and how smoothly things can move. Because there are some places where I greatly appreciate the high fidelity of movement that I can get. I can pretty much put anything wherever I want it. And then there's some where I think it crosses the line and just makes it hard to do anything at all. And the very tips of some of these bangs, definitely hard to do some things with sometimes. But I'm happy because the center portion is proving to be a little bit more straightforward than all the way on the left was. And just this side here. There's just a lot going on over there, and there's a little bit less going on over here. So I feel like it's coming together a little bit more easily for me. Like, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of just little color changes and hair textures and various things that I need to look at. But I feel like there's less of them. Oh yeah, I imagine geometric drawing would be very useful for that, and honestly, I think it's probably useful for drawing in general. Assuming, I'm thinking of the correct thing here. But a lot of technical drawing stuff is very interesting. And just the level of accuracy that you have to get for engineering purposes. Definitely far more than what you need for 3D and 2D modeling like this. So how's it been so far? Have you been able to apply some of what you've learned? Yeah, being able to picture things in 3D space is quite useful for any kind of visual art, I think. I can actually kind of see it in some of your drawings. I took a look at your Twitter, and I did notice right away that I felt like you had a very good grasp on perspective. Just the way you pose your characters and stuff. Having a good teacher always makes things easier. Oh. That's unfortunate. Yeah, cancer's pretty rough. How's she holding up? Or have you been able to see her at all since then, or? Yeah. Hopefully that's the case. If she's a good teacher, then it would be unfortunate if the world lost someone like her. Alright, now I have to remember how this edge strand works. It has been a little while since I've poked at it. So let's see what I can figure out. Fortunately, I never felt like it was too far off. Just a few areas, like how does man, that's a special mesh there. Huh, I see. Yes. Yeah, Escher's work is pretty interesting. Because I do think you have to have a very, very strong grasp of perspective in order to do stuff like that. So, yeah, I could certainly see that being a excellent lesson for how to handle perspective and that kind of thing. It's certainly more interesting than a lot of other things that could be done. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Yes, it sounds quite difficult. I certainly do not think I could draw like Escher. But really digging into that kind of perspective and finding crazy ways to make things look right, but also wrong. Ah, non-Euclidean space. Hey, I'm just saying that if you can draw like that, that's super rad. Because it's not easy to do. Not at all. What were some of her other lessons like? Because that's a pretty cool way to start things off, I think. What were some of your favorites? Yeah, I like lighting a lot too. Yeah, I think so too. Lights are a lot of fun. I probably have more fun with that than anything else as well. Well, I mean, every aspect of a picture is pretty important. But how should I say this? The aspects that a particular artist seems to like the most, I think, is kind of what speaks into most of their style and how they do things. Because, like, when I look at a picture, I can generally kind of tell which parts the artist had the most fun with. And I think those things kind of inform the unique perspective of each artist. Yeah, and just how each artist manipulates it. And it does what they want to do. Because when it comes down to it, I see art as kind of an expression. Just a way that you can take whatever is in your heart and mind and put it in a place where other people can see it. Because people cannot see and understand it as long as it is stuck in your head. It's gotta be real. It's gotta be out there. And the visual arts is one way you can do that. And for me personally, I find it a little bit easier to manage than words. I've never been especially good with words. So pictures is great for me. Thank you. The art here isn't mine. It's official art that I took from a game that I took and cut up so this way I could rig it for fun. But I do like the art in this game quite a lot. I think it's very pretty. And this character has fantastic hair, which is why I'm spending so much time really, really trying to get her hair right. I'm sure someday I'll want to make another model with art that I drew too. But for now, I just wanted to have a good time rigging this art in particular. Seemed like it'd be fun. Alright. Have fun. It's okay. I figured if you were saying that you were moving to a computer that you weren't necessarily leaving. Alright, I'm starting to get pretty hungry, so I think I'm gonna finish up the very tips of the hair and these left and right angles and then go grab some food. But oh man, do I think that it's all really come together here. I think the movement in these areas looks so much better than they did this morning. So I'm very pleased. It's little things, but those little things stack up. And just everything about that area between her eyes is so much more convincing to me now. So hopefully I can push it even farther tomorrow when I go and do my up and down and eventually corners. Yay. I just love moving her around. It's getting less and less jank every day and I love it. So I'm gonna do some intense staring here, make sure that I'm satisfied with everything. Sure. Go ahead, I'll answer as best I can. I don't really follow politics much, but I do not think that anyone is planning on taking over Canada right now. I do not think that is a thing. Alright, I think I almost got this, though. Heck yeah, all those little strands there. Finally all coming together. Alright, let's get that last little bit. And now, at the very tip of this, there's just this cute little curl. And I think once I get that in, all will be well. And the tips on the left and the right will be done. At least until I look at them tomorrow. So that's always how it seems to go. My ever-picky future self just always seems to find a few things that she wants to fix up. But I'm all for it. You mean me personally, or, like, with the United States? Because, I mean, I gotta say that even once Trump was elected, nothing has changed about my personal life. My personal life is fantastic. I love my life, man. It's great. It's everything I want it to be. And I am just very happy in general. Yeah, I mean, it is great. I get to come on here and... Well, thank you, Pip. Yeah, I mean, I worked very hard to build the life that I wanted to live. But, I mean, I get to come on here every morning and make something cool for the internet, and I think that's great. And after that, I get to go and draw more things, and that is also great. I know, right? It's great, I love it. So yeah, that's why I'd like to just keep doing what I'm doing. I don't know. When it comes to stuff in the news, I think people can kind of get caught up in a lot of things because ultimately negativity sells, and it's why I stopped following it too closely. Like, occasionally I'll take a look at what's going on just to make sure I'm not completely living under a rock, but... Yeah. Yeah, indeed. And, because, I mean, I think a lot of these things that people latch onto are, like, borderline not real, if that makes sense. Like, I understand that there are things happening, and I don't want to discount things happening, but at the same time, people are going to do what they can to make things seem way worse than they actually are, because that's what gets people to come back. Yes. Exactly. And just... I struggle to deal with the amount of negativity and things. Like, I even had to stop following gaming news of all things because it was the exact same, and I just got sick of people yelling at Ubisoft all day. Like, maybe it's not like they don't have a good reason to, but, like, come on, guys, it's a video game company, chill out. Let them go under if they keep making bad games. It's cool. Go play the games that are actually fun. So, you know, to an extent, just gotta be careful with those things. I don't necessarily like putting it like that. I mean, I'm also a game designer, so I take a lot of game design stuff fairly seriously, and I strongly dislike the way that a lot of businesses are handling games. But... so it's not about, you know, it's just a game, why be so serious? I've heard a lot of people say some pretty bad things around that, or do some pretty weird things about that in regards to certain types of games. Like, I was heavily into role-playing for a while, and people would often say, you know, it's just elf games on the internet. It doesn't matter if I don't show up every week. When I don't think that's true. But, again, at the same time, it's like... people making bad games, it's not the end of the world. Let's see, a lot of the games that I've done would just be text-based role-playing things that were made for sites that are, like, defunct now, so you can see them, but it's not really something that you could play, although anybody that steals my role-playing systems would get a very big thumbs up from me. It's like, please let them live on, even though I'm no longer using them, because I think they're great. I had more fun running those sites, man. Yep, pretty much. Yep. Well, I mean, even the process that made it, it's, that's why I'm trying to think of the right way to say things, because whether Ubisoft lives or dies, like, this isn't something that's really going to affect my life strongly, because I never really liked a lot of their games to begin with. That's why I'm trying to think of how to say some of this. Give me just a moment here. Let me think about this real quick. I think for a lot of people, people are putting their sense of self-worth and identity into a lot of weird things. So, whether that's political parties or gaming companies, you know, gamer as an identity, and that kind of thing. And it's not necessarily healthy. And, so, when somebody makes a bad game, they're not necessarily insulting you as a person because you're a gamer. They're just making bad games, and you should go, oh, that game is bad, I'm not going to buy it, and this company has consistently made bad games, so I'm not going to buy them. And that's okay, and it doesn't necessarily preclude you from being upset about it, but at the same time, you are not being, like, personally insulted. And this kind of thing, and I think there's a lot of sensationalism out there with not necessarily people taking things too seriously, but people wanting to see bad guys be punished, or seeing people say that their personal bad guy is bad, and validating their opinion and that kind of thing, and I also think that kind of thing is kind of annoying. This is why I don't tend to discuss politics or news, and why I shifted it over to video games, because that tends to have a little bit less stakes in things. So, less likely to make people very upset. Yeah. Well, and even then, it's not necessarily just about the company. Because at the same time, I think that, like, companies aren't real. They're not real. There are people behind the companies. So I still think that people are getting really caught up in lots of things that just are not real, and are pretending like they are. So there's still a lot of that. Yep. Always does. Oh, do you know some devs personally? Oh no, I meant the devs working on Overwatch specifically. I'm sure that there were a lot of people that felt a lot for it, but I don't think that's necessarily true of all of them, because it is also just a job. But, yes. I can definitely agree. But that's another thing that I think we've got to be careful with, because we hear things, and sometimes it can be hard to verify which things are true. Mm-hmm. Yep. Indeed. I just always do my best to avoid breaking down the world into good guys and bad guys. Indeed. It's a good way to be. That's okay. The indie space is thriving at this point because they can get away with doing more weird things. So if you're unsatisfied with a lot of what's coming out of AAA games right now, then I would suggest just looking into the indies. They're still able to do some cool things. My husband and I have been playing much Factorio, and we've had more fun at that game, I swear. It's okay. If there's a need, somebody will come along to fill it. I have very little doubt about that. And who knows? If there's a need, maybe you can fill it. Go out and make a thing, and go do something cool. It'll be great. Alright, well, I am definitely getting hungry, so I think I will stop here for today. But it was great talking with you all. Always happy to go in and talk about things. So yeah, I think I will stop here for today. And thank you all for coming, and I also hope you're able to make something wonderful today. Just go out and do your best. I'll see you all tomorrow.